Yo, what's up guys? Mike Red Fox. In this video, we're gonna build a 50 series GPU mining rig. I'm really excited for this. We're gonna dive right in and keep this super casual. I already have the bones of the rig set up and ready to go. Why? Because I'm repurposing almost all of this from the 6 3060 Ti's I just took off here. I did some prep to just figure out how much power I'm going to need for the GPUs I'm gonna slot in here, and I'll walk you through that when we get there. So I did have to change up the power situation just a little bit, but otherwise this is my tried and true, just classic GPU mining setup. Let me walk you through it. First, we're gonna start with the motherboard, which is an ASRock H110 Pro BTC Plus mining specific motherboard. It has 13 slots for GPUs to connect to. We're not gonna be using all of that today, but expandability is built into this motherboard. Paired with that, we're gonna keep the processor super cheap and cost effective because we don't need any processing power for mining. If you were doing an AI and mining rig like together, you're gonna wanna think about this a little different, but that's outside the scope of this video. Intel Celeron, probably G3900 or 3930 sitting in there. Integrated graphics, which is useful for our purposes in cryptocurrency mining. So we got 4 gigabytes. I think it's probably Kingston RAM in there. Doesn't really matter again, but if you're doing AI stuff, this would definitely matter. What else do we have? Paired with that, it's gonna be running Hive OS, a Linux distribution mining operating system. So just 64 gigabyte SSD from GPU risers is on here. And that's just kind of like everything, motherboard connected to it. And now let's go over power situation. So this is again, like my classic favorite setup. I use this EVGA 1000 G Plus ATX power supply. I like this one and I always have because it has 6 PCIe slots to power your GPUs, which is a lot for most power supplies around this wattage. But that won't be enough to power them all. So I'm supplementing that with a server power supply. This is an HP 1200 watt server power supply paired with a breakout board. That's gonna give me a lot more PCIe connections to power all the GPUs and all of the risers that I'll be using shortly. Now just zooming out, I did some research, like almost all of this stuff can be found either new or really great used prices. That includes the motherboard, processors, RAM, you might have to dig around a little bit or go to an 8 gigabyte or 16 gigabyte, which you really don't need, but that's what's available nowadays. I guess like EVGA is going out of business though. If you know, let me know in the comments section down below because you can barely find their power supplies. I know they stopped making GPUs a while ago, but man, their power supplies were the best. And it's sad to see that it seems like they're not gonna be around for much longer. Server power supplies, super cheap. Breakout boards, super cheap. Parallel miner, links in the description, or eBay even. I've gotten breakout boards and power supplies off of there. Just wherever you can find the best prices if you're gonna build a rig like this, or you need this stuff for an AI rig or whatever the heck you might be doing, you can find this stuff out there. And then housing all of that is a 6-card Veta frame. So there's an aluminum frame. These are kind of expensive still, which I am surprised at. I don't really know why. I got stacks of them empty over there, but this is gonna do just fine for housing the GPUs that we're gonna put on here. Now there are some other components from cables and risers that we're gonna go through as we slot up these GPUs, but we should talk about the GPUs. So this is a 50 series mining rig, and what I have is I have 4 GPUs that I'm going to put in here. Let me show you them. So what we're gonna start with is the 5070, which seems to be the best of this series for mining that I've seen so far. I've tested it a little bit, but everybody seems to really like this one. So we're gonna do that one. And then next, after that, we're going to do the 5070 Ti. That's an MSI card. This is an ASUS card, so we're gonna get this one on there. I really like the look of this card, so that'll be fun to do. And then there's 2 more left, and they're both Founders Editions. Let me see which one we got up first. We got the 5090 is gonna go in there. Probably save that one for last, and that takes a lot of power, but I think I got it figured out. And then we got the 5080 Founders as well, which I just opened up. It was sitting in the box for like 3 months. So we'll get the 5080 going in this mining rig as well. And so what we have to do now is make sure that we're balancing out power between all those cards, between the ATX power supply and the server power supply. So I've taken a look at this already. The 5070 is 250 watts and the 5070 Ti is 300 watts. If I ran it at full tilt, which probably not going to, but just in case. So I can put both of those on the ATX power supply, have plenty of connections, and that can also give some headroom for the motherboard and the processor, which are probably only going to take like 50, maybe 100 watts maximum. And then what I'm going to do is throw the 5080, which is 360 watts, along with the 5090, which is 575 watts, onto the HP server power supply. And that's going to keep it under load enough, because the closer you get to that 1200, these things will start screaming, especially if it's in a warmer environment. And I want this to be a really low noise rig, because my plan is to keep it here in the house, and it will fight my air conditioning for a while until I guess the fall comes. But enough of that. We got to start slotting up some of these cards. So I'm going to start with this 5070, and I'm going to, let's see, I'm probably going to start putting it over here so that the 90 and 80 can go on this side closer to the server power supply. So let's get this screwed in. Let's get the riser and power situation first. So one of the things that you can do to save on some of the connections is use a splitter, and that's what I'm going to do today. So I need, with this card specifically, I'm going to be using all of these crazy adapters that NVIDIA provides to go to classic 8-pin. I don't have any power supplies with a 12-volt high power connector, and I don't trust that connector anyway, so I'm just not going to use it. I'm going to do this really, really safe and leave myself a ton of headroom, which is what the classic 8-pin will allow you to do. So anyway, I actually got to get this connected to this 5070. So let's do that. And then what I can do is split the power coming off of the power supply to do one of these 8 pins on here, and also do this 6-pin on the back or the side of this riser from GPU Riser. So I have these splitters right here. I've used these literally forever, for probably 8 years. They're great. They're from Deep in the Mines. Link will be down in the video description below. And they go from 6-pin to dual 8-pin. Now you might be, if you're a little savvy with this stuff, you might be like, whoa, whoa, whoa. 8-pin can carry way more power than 6-pin, and you'd be wrong. The specs for the cables, there's 3 cables that carry power in both the 6-pin and 8-pin. And so they can do the same amount of power over each. Though a 6-pin on a GPU will never call for more than 75 watts. The cable can do more than that. If you want to explore that further, I have a really cool video. It's very old, but it's very thorough on how power and all this stuff works, so you can stay super safe. So I'm going to split this connector coming off of this 5070, and that's going to allow me to power the riser as well. Where'd that go? So let's power that up. I'm going to go through the back here. That's connected, and then we're just going to slot GPU right in there. So now I've taken into account my power situation on the card, and I'm going to get this screwed in right here. With that GPU slotted in, now I just need to worry about powering it up from the ATX power supply. So I need 2 connectors coming from there, because I got 2 splitters coming off of this GPU. One is splitting to 2 8-pin for the 12-volt high power connector, and the other is splitting that power to go from the riser to the other 8-pin for that 12-volt high power connector. So we're going to get both of those powered up, and that's it. That GPU is done for now. Next, we got to do the 5070 Ti, which is this one right here. So this adapter goes from the 12-volt high power connector to 3 8-pins, and we're still going to stick with the ATX power supply to do all of this. And the concept is exactly the same, where we're going to split one of those to take care of the riser, and then the other 2 will be dedicated, going directly back to this ATX power supply. Both those cards are ready. Let's move on to the 5080. It's going to use a really similar approach to the Ti here, because it has 3 8-pins coming off of this adapter for the 12 volt high power, but we're gonna move on to the HP server power supply now because we've maxed out what I wanna do on the ATX power supply. And quick tip here is never mix where power is coming from for an individual card and its paired riser. Keep both of those always on a singular power supply. I think there could just be some adverse effects if you don't do that. So same approach here. We're gonna get the splitter on here and now just all of the power is gonna go right to this HP server power supply. We'll do this one together since I guess it's a little bit different than the ones we just did. So here's my GPU riser's riser, and then I'm gonna split that just like we saw before to go to this deep in the mines splitter. And then I'm gonna put on the GPU onto that riser. And then I'm gonna look for that adapter. Here it is. We'll get that into the GPU up here. Man, these Founders editions are so nice. I remember when they were awful back in the day. Just blower style cards. And they make sure that that fits real tight in there. Solid connection. Okay, and let's actually get this slotted up now. I'm gonna put it probably here to give a lot of airflow this way so that the 90 can have a lot of airflow that way. I think that's gonna be a good approach. So let me get this screwed in. And the other end of that splitter is gonna go into one of those 8 pins coming off there. So now we have 3 connections that we have to power. We have 2 8 pins and a 6 pin. And the way we're gonna do that is from this server power supply. And when you buy server power supplies or breakout boards, you have the option to also buy these cables, which are gonna go 6 pin to 8 pin from the server power supply. So let's get those up and going here. They typically have the 8 pin, like 6 plus 2 pin on one side. That's gonna go to your GPU. And then the 6 pin only is gonna go into the breakout board. Now, as far as breakout boards go, there's different options, varieties. There's even some out there that include everything that you need to power up an entire mining rig without using an ATX power supply. There's other ones that have a Molex connector on there to go from your ATX power supply, so it trips it to power on along with the rest of your computer. This one is really bare bones, doesn't have any of that stuff. It's just gonna provide power to these GPUs, and I'll show you how I make sure it all powers up correctly when we get there. So now that those are in, just gonna get them over to this card first. I'm gonna make one a 6 pin and power up this deep in the mines splitter. And then the other 2 are gonna be 8 pin, and they're gonna go into the GPU itself. Last up is the 5090, same exact approach, but now we've gone up even further because of the power requirements. So we're gonna go to 4 8 pins coming off of this adapter. Let me get this one on. 5090, it's on there, and I did a little bit more work off camera as well, which includes getting the risers connected to the right spots on the motherboard here. And I just did some cable management in the back. You can't see it, but trust me, it looks really great. It looks really great. Next step then is to get this server power supply online. I have everything connected right now to the meter box, which is just going into my standard house outlet 20 amp, though this will go into a 30 amp shortly on the other side of the basement to get some more performance out of the server power supply. But that's what we gotta do first. So I'm gonna flip that on and we should see the 5090, yep, fans are spinning, lights on the riser, and the 5080 next to it, same deal. Both of those are online, so looking good there. Now, once I've powered on the server power supply, I'm gonna come power on the ATX power supply to give the rest of the cards power and then get this motherboard up. Lights look good on both of the risers. Motherboard's good, got lights there. Fans are spinning on the CPU cooler. I don't have fans on this Asus 5070 Ti, but sometimes based on the card itself, the fans may not spin at power on. It may not spin until it gets into the OS and loads the driver. So we're gonna keep an eye on that. Speaking of OS, let's get into Hive OS and check out this mining rig. Everything's looking good. Hive OS is all up to date. Drivers are up to date. All the GPUs are recognized. Everything's ready to go. Now it's about time to figure out what to mine. And so I was looking on what to mine, and it seems like with the stock information that it has, which we will do better, but at least it guides us in the right direction. Looks like Conflux, which mines the Octopus algorithm, is currently the most profitable coin to mine. So let's do that. I'm going to set it up to mine over to NiceHash so I can stack some more Bitcoin. So we're going to go over to Hive OS, go to my flight sheets. I should have an Octopus one for NiceHash. Yep, there it is. And let's just see if I have to edit anything on there with the miner configuration. Nope, looks good. So let's just launch that. And now the Octopus algorithm is memory hard, very similar to Ethereum if you were doing that back in the day, but it doesn't need a lot of core. So the plan for overclocking this first is to let it run stock just to see what our baseline is, and then push the memory as far as I can, and then dial back the core to save on wattage to get more efficient. I guess you could probably also do it reverse. Maybe smarter to dial back core first and then push memory. I don't know. What do you guys do? Let me know down in the comments section below. I've always done it this way. But we're going to pull a ton of power right now. So let's get the miner up in Hive OS so we can hang out and do this live. And I'm keeping an eye on that efficiency column, which is going to be our driver, because I want efficiency on these cards, least amount of power, most amount of performance. And that server power supply is coming under load right now because I don't have it on 30 amp, 240. So this is going to start screaming. Should be enough though, because I'm talking 360 watts plus 575. It's going to get actually really close to the limit of what that can do on not a 30 amp circuit. So buckle up. We'll see what happens here. Let's start with that 5090 because that's eating up so much power right now. 507 watts, and in total we're at 1450 watts. So I want to get that one figured out right away. So we're going to come over back to Hive OS and let's see some memory clocks I might be able to run on this. Let's go up 2000 on that one. It's going to pull some more power, but looking like the core runs pretty high, similar to the 40 series. So at least know the baseline for where we could start pulling it back. But let's see where this gets us as far as more performance on the 5090. Looking good, 212 mega hash. Efficiency actually looks pretty good as well at 426 per kilohash per watt. 520 watts being pulled on that right now. I'm going to boost this up to 4,000. And then we'll probably start dialing back that core just to get a rough idea of what these GPUs can do in comparison to some of the GPUs I've tested on Conflux before these ones. 224 mega hash, pretty happy with that. I'm going to start pulling back that core. So it's at 2700 right now, running that amount of power. What I'm going to keep an eye on this whole time is that efficiency number. If it's going up, I'm moving in the right direction. If it's going down, then I've moved too much. So let's move it from that 2700. We're going to go down to 2400 just by going in Hive OS here. And we're going to set that core lock to 2400, hit apply, and let's just keep an eye. We're at 422 on efficiency right now. Let's see where that goes. Really significant improvement. We're now at 484 kilohash per watt. Let's keep pushing this a little bit further. I'm going to go down to 2205, and let's keep an eye on that efficiency again to see if we're moving in the right direction on this 5090. Improved again. Now we're over 500 kilohash per watt on efficiency, which is the best of any GPU I've ever tested. Let's keep going here. I'm going to see if we make any more improvements. We're going to go to 2010 on the core lock. We moved in the wrong direction here, so we reduced too much core to keep that efficiency. So there's sweet spot somewhere between those two numbers, but for the sake of time in this video, I'm going to put it back to that 2205, and I got some homework to do, dialing in that memory clock a little bit more, and then dialing in that core clock a little bit more. I'm going to do the rest of these cards real quick, and I'll show you what I come up with. Rough overclocks, because I got to wrap up this video, but I'm really impressed so far. We dropped power to about 1,000 watts for this entire rig. I found really efficient starting place, but I still have some more work to do. But this is looking extremely good so far. The efficiency on all of these cards is above 500 kilohash per watt, and the 5080 actually impressively is above 600 kilohash per watt. To put that in perspective, the 40 series before were around like low 400s in kilohash per watt. So this has exceeded that and then some, which is really impressive. So cards are doing great. I thought the other thing we'd take a look at, which I know GPU mining is not the most profitable thing in the world right now, but let's just take a look. So I'm over on what to mine, and I put in first the 5080, since that's the most efficient card, at a 10 cents kilowatt per hour electric rate. It is making 54 cents in day in profit. But if we go look at the 5090, you're now up to 71 cents a day in profit because it has more raw hash rate, even though it's taking more power. So that's it. 50 series mining rig. If there are algorithms, cryptocurrencies that you would like me to test, let me know down in the comments section, because I plan on doing a video for all of the performance and all of the popular proof of work cryptocurrencies on this mining rig. So that's it. I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. If you want to see me build another mining rig for CMP 170HX cards, I'll have that video on the screen right here. And if you stumbled upon this video and made it all the way to this place and you got a PC at home with a card in it, I got a video for you, how to get started mining Bitcoin the easiest way. I'll leave that on the screen as well. But otherwise, please take care of yourself, each other. See ya in the next video.